Welcome to the Business Growth Spotlight, where we shine the light and speak with business leaders from all over the world who share their expertise and wisdom so we can all grow together. And I'm your host, Heidi Schalk. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. We're excited to have you here. And I'm excited to be introducing my guest to you today. We've been chatting a little bit about behind the scenes. He's an awesome gentleman, and I'm excited to dive into his business. But before we do so, if you're new and you're just joining us, please stay to the end because we have a gift for you. But without further ado, I want to introduce you to Chetan Saiya with
Hello.
Zoomifier Corporation. So welcome, Chetan, to the show.
Thank you, Heidi. It's great to be here.
It's a pleasure to be talking with you. Can you share a little bit about you, like kick us off about telling us about your background, who you are, Zoomifier, and your role within it?
Sure. So by education and profession, I'm an engineer. But after doing my graduation, undergrad and master's and stuff, I worked for just a couple of years, and then I've been starting one company after another. So you could also call me a serial entrepreneur. I'm currently running Zoomifier Corporation, which is focused on a very interesting category we call video-rich sales enablement. So sales enablement is a category that's complementary to CRM that helps enable your sales team and helps engage the customers better. And we found that that was getting particularly more relevant when you add video component to it. So we really narrowed down our focus and we do this video-rich sales enablement. It's a 12-year-old company, self-funded. We have no external financing. And we have grown organically with some very, very large corporate customers across multiple industries.
There's so much here that I want to unpack. One 20-year-old company, that's amazing. I'm sorry?
12.
12 years. Okay. But still, that's a long time. 12 years. And you're a serial entrepreneur, which I love that you shared that because you have a lot of experience in growing companies. And this podcast is all about growth. So I'm excited to dive into that, what you've learned, what challenges you've had. So can you tell us, like, what are some biggest challenges today in B2B sales teams that they're facing? That they may not have existed 5 to 10 years ago that you've seen?
Great question. There actually has been just dramatic change in the way sales are occurring now versus what used to happen. Just say maybe pre-COVID, 18. If you took a snapshot in 2019, and if you took today, the way you would sell as well as market to anyone is dramatically changed. And if you try to continue the old ways, you are going to suffer terribly. What is specifically changed is the buyer's behavior. And then selling is all about aligning with the buyer's behavior. So a couple of things have happened that have just dramatically altered how you can sell to them. The first one is this whole partial work from home, remote workforce, etc., suddenly deprives a salesperson of one-on-one face-to-face meeting. That's what a B2B salesperson thrives on. That's how they read someone's body language, qualify their customers, and then try to close a deal. But when you're not in front of them, there's a huge amount of problem. And the problem comes in two ways. One is half the people don't show up for remote meetings, and then significant number of others are multitasking during that time. So there's just tremendous amount of distraction. And so as opposed to being in a conference room with everyone in your room, you got those 30 minutes or an hour when you have everyone's undivided attention, that no longer happens. And the last part is that there's just so much of noise with ever increasing number of channels through which people are getting information, or the way the vendors are trying to get to every customer, that your ability to stand out has become very, very difficult. And so all this has done is the following. The first is the traditional means of selling, which is the kind of presentations people did and then the kind of collateral they were delivering to customers are no longer working. So that's a huge issue. And there's a tremendous amount of content transformation taking place. The second thing is when you don't have access to a person in person, meaning you don't have an eye-to-eye contact, how do you figure out their body language and how do you qualify them? And so that is beginning to get replaced with what we call a digital body language. And that's where AI eventually also plays tremendous amount of significant role. So there's just tremendous changes of that sort going on the behavioral side of the customer and how sales teams have to interact with them. The last part to that is even the B2B sales organizations have pretty much gone into work from home or work remotely. And so how do you train and mentor and coach your team members all the time? So the way it used to be was you would sit one-on-one or in a classroom training format, and that's no longer working either. And so you need, again, content to help coach, mentor, train your team on an ongoing basis. Huge, huge changes happening.
So many good things that you shared there. Sales is evolving, sales is changing, AI is entering the market, it's not going anywhere, right? And you're the first person that I've talked to in regards to sales that has mentioned the whole virtual body language. I've never heard that before. So I'm really intrigued by that because you would think that it would be the same when it comes to in-person and virtual because we've moved so much to virtual. It's kind of like, today's in person or like, 5 years ago in person kind of thing. So I think that's very interesting. What can you share with us more about that for those listening? Because I'm sure most of the people listening here, they're founders, they're CEOs, they rely obviously on sales. We all do in order to keep our business, the doors open. So what are some of the things to look out for when it comes to virtual body language?
Okay, so to compare that, let me first talk about what the traditional body language was and how that was used. So as a salesperson, when you were in front of someone, you looked at whether people were paying attention, whether they were asking the right questions, were they kind of talking about specific topics that were of interest to them, whether they were fidgeting, how did they react bodily when you answered a specific question or handled an objection. So all of that is what you would call a body language. Now that has, and so what that resulted in was the development of CRM systems that we all know, whether it's Salesforce.com, Microsoft CRM, or any other such system, it was a salesperson who would then write down under the opportunities or deals form, how did the meeting go? How did each contact behave, etc. And then if you, even today, when you look at the AI that companies such as Salesforce provide, it is highly dependent on the manual input of these sales teams. It's based, and so there are two issues out there. One, humans are notoriously inconsistent in how much data they put in. So the data you get in the CRM systems is not very rich or useful. And second, when you are not even meeting them, I don't know how you learn about their body language. So a large amount of data that's going into the CRM systems is getting made up. Thereby, all these investments they're making in AI are literally useless, is what we have heard from our customers, because they try to predict what the next steps in the sales process should be, when would things close, what the opportunity is, based on a very wrong data that was inconsistently put in by the salespeople. So now that's the context in which we are talking about this digital body language, what you're calling virtual body language. And so the idea here is we make an assumption that you're not always going to be in person. And so now the question is, how do you engage folks who are not in person and who barely give you 3 minutes, not 30 minutes or an hour, right? So this is where content's playing a huge role. And then the second is, how do you resurface people who are behind the scene decision makers, stakeholders who are not even coming to the meeting? And how do you engage them, track them, etc.? So in this context, what we have built is a whole infrastructure where we enable people to first build immensely engaging information. So for example, we our customers take the existing PowerPoints, which are all text and bullets and stuff, and transform them into extremely interactive, video-rich, 3D-ish presentations, for example. And then we have all kinds of interesting tools that also transform this content that they have kind of put together into video format. Because one of the power of video versus PDFs and PowerPoints is you just click once and you just sit there and listen, right? And we are all more used to passive listening, whether we are on a television or a TikTok or Instagram. We are always like, or YouTube, right? We like to just click once and then enjoy or consume, as opposed to click here, click here, click here. So that's the first component of this whole enabling the capture of a digital body language. But then comes a second very important thing, which is every piece of content that is shared and viewed is completely tracked. And we have about 40 to 45 different parameters we track them by. Things such as how long did they spend on that full content on each individual components? Where were they? Were they at home? Were they in office? What time of the day were they doing this? What kind of devices were they consuming this on, etc.? And who all did they forward that information to further? And all of this, when you put together, gives you a lot better understanding of one, how deeply are they involved in decision making? And second, how far are they in the decision making process based on the amount of time and stuff that they spend? And then we have another very interesting, so this is the first part of capturing the digital body language. And the second part, of course, is presenting it into extremely visual, graphical, and intuitive ways so that human beings by themselves can make decisions. But then comes a third component, which is the AI part. And what we do as a part of that AI is we use all this information and the past interactions with thousands of other such users to start recommending what should be the next set of content that people should be viewing. So that is in a way akin to an autonomous driving. So just like the car kind of uses a GPS to know what destination and then kind of goes through the roads, we have an autonomous sales system now, which based on the initial profile and the information that was provided through the sales initial engagement, we start engaging the customer with a variety of options and then zoom in into the exact things that they're looking for. And so what that does is dramatically increases the productivity of salespeople, where they could, as compared to, say, working on 5 deals and engaging 30 people across the 5 deals, they can now work across 15 deals and work with 50 to 100 such people simultaneously.
Wow.
That's one, what the digital body language is and what the power of it is.
No, I appreciate that, and you clarifying it and you breaking it down for us. So thank you so much. So why do you believe video plays a central role in improving sales performance? Because there's a lot of things, like we're always looking at metrics, right? We always want to know our numbers. So why do you feel video is so important?
Yeah, so, I mean, we always had this simple adage, right? Pictures are worth more than 1,000 words. I think video is worth more than million or billion words sometimes. One of the most important aspect is, so take the content of a brochure. Traditionally, or even a presentation would have at least 12 to 15 slides to give you to go through a topic. A brochure would have 3 to 4 pages, each of which takes at least 15 minutes to 30 minutes to read through. Well, most of the millennials and Gen Zs don't like to read, first of all. That's the biggest thing. And second is, they don't want to commit 15 to 30 minutes to anything. That same information you can nicely crunch up into about 30 seconds to 1 minute of video. We've almost found that you get the best, you have to start very quickly in a video to the point. Most of your messages have to get through in the first 20 to 30 seconds. And after first minute, the attention again starts dropping very rapidly. So in the early part of sales, the max time you get is 30 seconds. As your sales progresses, you may be at the end of it, at the decision-making time, which you would think they would, and they're buying hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of stuff, they would still give you only 5 minutes. Now, there is no other medium today that will allow you to deliver impactfully information within this 30 seconds to 5 minutes. And that's why video is the most relevant one. It's also something that people understand correctly in terms of how to create it, how to edit and deliver also.
You had mentioned earlier a little bit about AI, and AI is here. It's not going anywhere. It's only evolving and growing. So what role do you see AI playing in B2B sales?
Yeah, that's the trillion-dollar question, right? Not even $1 billion question anymore. The amount of money that's being put into it. Again, being a self-funded company, we do something very different from most startups, which immediately ran to their venture capitalists and investors to say, give us more money so we can give more money to all the data centers in NVIDIA. We didn't have that luxury. So we did some tremendously deep thinking in two ways. One was we did survey what was going on from a technology perspective, but we also went to all our customers to understand how they would use AI. And as we're looking through, I completely agree with you that AI really delivers good value and it's here to stay. However, as a B2B sales company, you have to figure out, so what? Where does your value add come in, right? And so as we look at that, that is a struggle. Most people have just thrown and floated a lot of balloons, spent a lot of time, distracted from their normal roadmaps, and they did not get any traction. They would get some wows and good applause when they demonstrated something, but no one was willing to spend the money to actually implement this. So this has been a huge issue. And we have actually successfully tackled that. And what we found is the following. When you look at AI, you can broadly divide it into two parts. The part that we all talk about ceaselessly is the Gen AI part. I sincerely believe that's only about 5 to 10% of the impact. The significantly large amount there is around what we call deep learning or machine learning, where now Gen AI part is almost one of the reasons everyone's so fascinated is it has become very end user accessible very, very quickly. The danger though for a software company is if they try to deliver that, all they are becoming is resellers for OpenAI or for Gemini or for any one of these many Gen AI companies, right? The chatbots and stuff. All they're doing is packaging their API and delivering, and the cost of that delivery is very high. And if you have a per user per month model or pricing, it's not fitting within that, and it's requiring huge changes. But beyond that, the differentiation is very low because anyone and everyone can do it within 2 days of work. And most people now have direct tools from Microsoft, Google, and others, right? So they are not able to monetize it very well. What we have then finding is there's a second part where a deep transformation is occurring, which is a machine learning. Now, what machine learning sits on top of, though, is data, right? And the problem in sales has been that everything was so subjective, so one-on-one person-based, that the kind of data you have is not very good. I already gave you an example of the kind of information people put into CRM and the issues that come with it. Another area that people have explored is the inbound emails and phone recordings. But this is what Gong and others do in terms of analysis, what's called conversational intelligence. The problem there is it works after you've got a customer because that's when your communications go up. So customer support part is great. There is this dead zone right now in B2B sales, which is how do you collect data during the time that you don't have them as your customers? And so they're not necessarily interacting with you regularly. And so this is where the information I talked about, the digital body language, which is very, very rich data of customer engagement and their behavior, as well as your salesperson behavior, that's beginning to become very, very rich. And
Mm.
so the way we found, and so this is something that has immensely excited our customers. Now they used to purchase our solution before, primarily to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of their salespeople. Now, on top of it, they are actually seeing our software as one of the most valuable way to leverage their AI vision and roadmaps for future.
So let's talk about that a little bit. Who are your ideal clients? Who are your ideal client customers? So somebody's listening going, okay, yes, I love what Chetan's talking about. I want to learn more, but I don't know if I'm the right fit. Who are those people?
Very good. Okay. So what we have done, again, at the end of the day, B2B sales is very horizontal, so it can be applicable everywhere. However, being a small self-funded startup, we have to be very focused. And so what we had focused on initially were industries where experience of their solution matters a lot. I'll give you a couple of examples. One is media and entertainment. So we have some very large media and entertainment companies that are our customers. And what happens is their primary source of revenue is ad sales. And when you're selling ads to the advertisers, you have to deliver the experience that your brand or your channel delivers, whether you're a Sony, a Discovery, or NBC, or any of those guys, right? How do you do that? That's where video becomes a very important way, as well as showing the demographics and stuff. So that's an example of one industry where video-rich content is tremendously useful. Another one is hospitality. So if you are a very high-end hotel or a hotel chain, your significant amount of your profitability comes from events, not from your retail customers who buy one room. And so in that case, what you're delivering to the event buyer is the experience they will have at your property when they host the event, right? So again, video plays a huge role. Another industry that we find tremendous amount of traction is sports. So sports makes a lot of money both from media rights as well as from sponsorships and partnerships. And again, when you're going to a partner to have them sponsor your stadium with the naming rights or to put their logos all around, you have to deliver to them experiences. So that these were our traditional industries where we were selling. But then we got very surprised by getting inquiries and then access and then adoption from some very different and what you normally call very boring or irrelevant industries. One was education. So we found that in a number of highly specialized higher education, what matters is the experience the student will have at the campus. So again, video mattered. And then the most amazing one was insurance. So one of our fastest and the biggest adoption has happened in the insurance industry. Normally, you would think of them as very laggards and stuff, but they have been right at the forefront because what they are beginning to do is start using a variety of our technologies, both the video richness to simplify their messaging, as well as better enable their channel, the brokers and the producers who can now personalize and customize the videos and deliver it to the customers. So these are the examples of where video-rich sales enablement and AI components are beginning to get used very effectively.
Perfect. So can we talk about growth a little bit? You've been in business for 12 years. You are a self-declared serial entrepreneur. I'm sure you've had a lot of ups and downs in your journey. So can you share some of the challenges you've had along the way and how did you overcome them?
Sure. Again, let me just talk about the company I used to run before I started Zoom. That company pioneered another category that we called marketing operations management. We sold systems that help very large enterprises manage their marketing plans, budgets, and all the workflows. And at that time, and these were the good old days, almost pre-social media, phone had just started coming in at the end of our whole thing. But you normally had top 3 companies and about 8 or 10 other companies, right? So your normal means of marketing, including phone calls, emails, etc., everything worked very well. And so then that company got acquired by SAS, which is one of the analytics company. And after completing the handover, I got interested in starting Zoomifier, and I thought I'll use the same things, right? And it just failed. And I was immensely kind of disturbed as to, have I lost my mojo? Do I not get it anymore, etc., or am I doing something wrong? And it just turned out that with the software as a service, with these higher bandwidth and everything, it had become immensely easy for anyone and everyone to come out with a solution. And so to stand out and get your voice heard had become very, very difficult. And at the same time, the recipients, the customers, were getting bombarded so much that they had set up all their proper defense mechanism, all the way from spam filtering to the phone-based filtering, et cetera, et cetera. So one of the biggest things we found, and this was a journey, right? Because we first thought we were doing it wrong. We changed through many agencies. We changed different kinds of tools and trends and channels, jumping from emails to LinkedIn to other things and so on, trying different SEO strategies, but all of them were not coming up too much. And so this is not to say those channels are not effective. They didn't work for us because we just saw too much of noise and the return on investment wasn't great. While it does keep marketing teams immensely busy and they think they're doing something meaningful, but when we look at it from a overall business perspective, it wasn't moving the needle at all. In that context, two things happened that were immensely useful for us, and I think might be very relevant for others. The first was word of mouth. We did find that by focusing on our customers and really doing a great job for them, really helped us. The customers talk to others, and you can always, of course, extend that into a PR strategy. And so from a PR perspective, I think that's still a very relevant medium, as long as it's rooted in real customer experiences rather than just take trends and stories kind of thing. Not hype, but reality kind of stuff. So we got immense amount of word of mouth exposure, both by happy customers talking to others, and then some of the employees from these companies going to others. And the very next thing they do is call us and say, I want to do the same thing I did in other places. And interestingly, sales teams do move, sales and marketing both move every 18 to 24 months. So you do get tremendous amount of word of mouth if you do well. So that was one thing. The second thing we found was that we had to reestablish physical one-on-one contacts. The virtual things work only after you've met someone first time. So this is where we started attending a number of trade shows and stuff, and we found that to be immensely useful. One, you get to understand people's problem a lot better versus just theorizing them. Second, people give you very high quality time when they are with you in there. And then the third thing that we have seen with the events is the event apps have gotten very good in terms, they've all gotten inspiration from dating apps, and the way they might rightly match the right targets is amazing. So it's kind of interesting that while we are selling something that enables digital body languages and remote engagement, we found that the best way for us was to be in person with some of those people to get the process started. And that has really helped accelerate our growth.
So what's your big goal, Chetan, for Zoomifier? What is the North Star for the next 12 months?
So what we have found is the growth for the sake of growth, where you just get a lot of logos, is not very useful in terms of profitability. And instead, what we have found is dominating specific markets by having a solution that everyone in that industry aspires becoming a standard. And then there's a perpetuity that comes with it. And that's our main goal, which is rather than expanding randomly into every industry, to focus on the ones, really build a very strong moat around it and build immensely profitable business. And that's our main goal.
Yeah, you're very intentional on what you're putting your efforts into, which is fantastic. So if I could give you a magic wand and you can wave it on one issue right now that could possibly keep you from reaching that goal, what would that issue be that you'd want to go poof on, and why?
That's very interesting. I think the biggest challenge every salesperson or any person who's trying to innovate faces, right, is the past experiences that people are stuck on. So we do see an interesting transition taking place right now where the baby boomers and whatever generations that followed are now slowly getting replaced by the Gen Zs, and born of millennials first and then the Gen Zs kind of just coming in with very different mindset. But the existing decision makers, which are in the prior generations, have grown up with certain things that they're not able to let go. Things like the way they want to present, the way they want to track the information, the way they want to sell and engage. So if I had a magic wand, if I can erase that old memory, then that would be great. Now, interestingly, we are seeing, and the reason I bring that up is if in some industries we come across extremely young audiences versus others where they are like 20 years more older. In this younger one, this message about how customers are behaving and how it has changed is obvious to them. The use of video and stuff is obvious because that's what they've grown up with. And so that's where we see tremendous amount of growth. It's the former where there is some transformation needed.
So I think I have one or two more questions for you left. If we could revisit this conversation in a year from now and bring you back, what would success look like for you in Zoomifier?
So for us, we don't look at success only from our financial thing. We have always looked at it in terms of how our solution has helped our customers improve their things. So for example, over the last 2 years, what we have found is that companies that have been using Zoomifier have been creating 6 times more engaging content. Salespeople are sending out 8 times more customized relevant content, and that's increasing the sales engagement, the customer engagement 3 times compared to the competitors. Now, what this has resulted in with few of our anecdotal initial customers is 38.4% increase in customer retention and acquisition.
Nice.
Right? And now, which is just amazing amount of growth that we are enabling our customers. What we are now working on is getting that replicated at every one of our current customers and the new incoming customers to say, here's the process, here's how you should do it, here are the best practices, here's a blueprint. And we are measuring. So if a year down the road, I want to say, here are not just few companies that have now where we have seen it, but here's a large number of companies that are all doing this way.
Amazing. So Chetan, how can people reach out to you? If they're listening, they want to learn more, how can they find you?
Thank you for listening. Our website is a great starting point, www.zoomifier.com, Zoomifier. We also have a sub-site because one of our components that enables creation of these video-rich PowerPoints, as we call it, is Custom Show. So that's customshow.com, customshow.com. So if people check that out, and then there is a way to get to us from there, that would be great.
Perfect. And we'll have all of Chetan's information in the show notes, including his bio. You can learn more about him there. And we'll have the websites, but it's definitely zoomifier.com and customshow.com. You shared? Yes. So definitely check him out there. Also social media. We'll have those links there as well. Connect with him. As you can hear, as you can see, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can see he's amazing. He's definitely you want to connect. He's somebody you want to connect with. But if you're listening, if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. We appreciate it. We're grateful you're here with us today. Please hit that subscribe button so you get to hear from more amazing, CEOs, founders, experts on this podcast, like Chetan is sharing with you today. He's spending his time with you. He's been so grateful for your time, by the way. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to be sharing with us today. I know you've got a lot of other things that you could be doing, and you chose to be with us. So I'm very thankful for that. So spread the love and let people know about Zoomifier if you're listening to us. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform like Apple, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, any of those or more, and you can leave us a review, please do so. We prefer 5 stars. We'd ask for 5 stars. This allows us to be able to share our amazing guests like Chetan here today with more people, and allow these amazing founders and CEOs who are spending time with you to spread the word about their businesses so they can, help more people. The goal of this podcast is to grow, and we want to support businesses in growing. The more that we can do that, the more businesses are going to thrive and be successful, and more people are going to reach their dreams versus closing their doors. I'd like to flip the stats on the businesses that close into the businesses that thrive and grow. And our experts here are sharing how they make it happen. So Chetan, thank you so much for being here today. Is there anything that I didn't get to share with you? Oh, before we do that, I did promise y'all a gift. So for listening to us today, if you are looking to grow your business grow your visibility, and you've been trying different efforts and you feel like you're throwing spaghetti at the wall and it's not working, go ahead and grab our Spotlight to Scale blueprint. You can go to spotlighttoscale.com/blueprint to grab that. But again, make sure you go and check out Chetan, check out Zoomifier, zoomifier.com. And is there anything that you'd like to share before we wrap up that I didn't get to ask you or we didn't touch on today?
No, first of all, thank you so very much for giving me an opportunity to do this. Also, the questions you were asking were so very relevant and pertinent, and I hope everyone gets to learn something from this.
Thank you so much.
It seems really, really good.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. It's a new podcast, so we're happy. We're so excited about this. So thank you, Chetan, for being here. Thank you for listening to us today. We appreciate you. We appreciate your time, and we will see you on the next episode of the Business Growth Spotlight.